Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is a pro-revenge story. It was just last month that my wife Sarah and I purchased one of our 7-year-old son Jake's birthday gifts from a popular sports retailer that has stores all across the country. It was a football rebounder, like a small trampoline that you kick the ball at and it bounces back to you. We ordered it from their website and didn't think anything more about it. A few days later, we got a notification from a major shipping company that there were customs charges due on a package. We had ordered a bunch of stuff for Jake's party, so we had to double check what was being imported. We didn't think we had anything left, so we figured it was a scam email. Sarah called the retailer to find out who had shipped this item, and it turned out to be a different carrier based in a neighboring state. After some digging, we realized it was the football rebounder. They had shipped it from their warehouse across state lines using a local delivery service to get it to the major carrier for the final delivery to our house. Here's the thing, Sarah and I are both on disability, so an extra $60 charge on top of everything else for Jake's birthday was really tough on our fixed income. I told Sarah to pay it for now, and I'd deal with getting a refund from the retailer. The first day, I called them 3 times, stuck on hold for at least 20 minutes each time. I was patient though, because I've worked call centers before and know those workers are just doing their job. But I asked for a manager every time and was promised a callback that never happened. The second day was more of the same runaround. By the third day, I was fed up. I called again, waited forever, and finally laid into the rep when I got through. I explained that by law, they had to disclose any additional fees by the final checkout page, and there was nothing about potential customs charges. I could replicate the issue right then by adding the same item to my cart, no mention of extra fees through the whole checkout process. The rep didn't seem to care, just offered me a measly $20 gift card. But then he read me some line about how, we advise customers there may be delivery duty charges on items shipped across state lines. Where does it say that? I asked. He paused, then admitted he didn't know. Well, I know one thing, I told him. It's not stated anywhere for this order, and that violates my consumer rights. So here's your last chance to make this right. Have a manager call me back in the next hour, or I'm going to blast this whole mess all over LinkedIn and tag every executive at your company. Surprise, surprise, no call came. The next day, I made good on my threat. I drafted a post detailing how they stuck us with hidden fees, ignored requests for manager callbacks, and generally operated without ethics. Then I tagged every senior leader I could find, from regional managers all the way up to the CEO. This was war. Not long after, they scrubbed that rebounder from their website like that would make it all go away. Idiots didn't realize you could still find it through search. I got screenshots showing the contrast, did a Google cache search to get the old listing, and updated my post exposing their pathetic cover-up attempt. Tagged all the execs again, really stirring the pot by that point. A few incognito users even viewed my profile. Gee, I wonder who that could have been. I took a screenshot and added it to my post as well. The next morning, I got a call from some senior VP at their headquarters, just groveling with apologies and asking what she could do. I told her originally I just wanted my $60 back since the fees were bogus, but after all this, I wanted a full refund and to keep the rebounder too. That was the only way to make it right. She asked for a couple hours to sort it out. Sure enough, an hour later, she called back. Sent the $60 to my PayPal, issued a refund for the original purchase, and told me to keep the product. I thanked her for finally resolving it, but I'll be damned if I let some multi-million-dollar company just walk all over my family and our rights as consumers. The moral of the story, don't take crap from companies that think they can bully you. I may be just one guy, but my son's birthday is more important to me than some faceless corporation's bottom line. The next one is an entitled people story. I've lived in my house for over 15 years now, and never had any issues with the neighbors. Everyone pretty much keeps to themselves while still being friendly enough to chat or help each other out if needed. So when my new neighbor Mike moved in next door, I thought nothing of it at first. I went over, introduced myself, and welcomed him to the neighborhood. He seemed nice enough, if a bit quiet and standoffish. The problem started about 2 months after Mike moved in. I started noticing my electric bill was way higher than usual, like a good 30-40% increase out of nowhere. At first I figured maybe I had just used more electricity that month, but when the high bills kept coming month after month, I knew something fishy was going on. I called up the electric company to see if they could tell me why my bill had suddenly skyrocketed. They said all the readings were accurate on their end, and suggested I must be using more electricity, but I knew my usage hadn't changed, so it didn't make sense. Still, they weren't able to give me any real answers. That's when I started watching my meter more carefully. I'd go out and check the reading, then make sure not to use any electricity for a while. But when I checked again, the meter reading would still be higher than it should be. It was clear someone was tapping into my electricity illicitly. My first thought was my new neighbor, Mike. His standoffish attitude did seem a bit suspicious now that I thought about it. I didn't want to outright accuse him, though, so I decided to do a little sleuthing first. One night when Mike wasn't home, I snuck into his backyard. It was there that I discovered the proof, an illegal hookup leaching electricity from my line into Mike's house. Anger coursed through me at this blatant theft. I contemplated confronting Mike right then and there, but I knew I needed evidence first, so I called the electric company and police to come document the illegal setup. They confirmed it was siphoning my electricity and agreed Mike was likely the one who set it up. The police even found tools in his garage that could be used for that type of wiring job. Armed with all this evidence, I worked up the courage to finally knock on Mike's door and confront him. When he answered, I cut right to it and accused him of stealing my electricity. His eyes went wide with shock before he sputtered denials, claiming he knew nothing about any illegal hookup. But I stood firm and informed him the cops and electric company had already been here and seen the proof. His fake innocence crumbled pretty quickly after that. Mike got angry then, yelling at me that it wasn't a big deal and I was making a mountain out of a molehill. He ranted about how he was on a fixed income and couldn't afford the bills after his wife got sick, as if that somehow justified stealing hundreds of dollars of electricity from me. I told Mike in no uncertain terms that he had two options: either disconnect the illegal setup immediately and pay me back for all the stolen electricity, or I would see him in court. Well, Mike decided to be stubborn and do neither, so I called up a lawyer and took his crooked ass to court. Thankfully, with the photos, police report, and electric company documentation, I had a rock-solid case. Mike didn't even bother getting a lawyer, just represented himself and kept trying to feed the judge sob stories. It was almost comical watching him pathetically try to justify his crime. In the end, the judge saw right through Mike's BS. Not only did he rule that Mike had to pay me back for all the stolen electricity, but he also hit him with a massive fine on top of that. Mike's eyebrows just about hit the ceiling when he heard that penalty. I guess he realized too late that his little electricity scam wasn't worth it, but the judge wasn't done yet. As additional punishment for his blatant theft, Mike was sentenced to 6 months of house arrest with ankle monitoring. The judge wanted to make an example out of him. I watched with satisfaction as Mike was cuffed and led out of the courtroom to begin his sentence. After court, I wasted no time hiring an electrician to permanently disconnect Mike's illegal setup and undo any damage he did to my system. I also installed a more secure, tamper-proof electrical box just to be safe. Wouldn't want any accidental reconnects happening once Mike finishes his house arrest. In the end, I felt fully vindicated by the court's ruling. Mike's underhanded actions could have kept costing me hundreds of dollars if I hadn't caught on. But now, with his illegal setup disconnected and the threat of more penalties hanging over his head, I can rest easy knowing my electricity is safe. It just goes to show you can't pull one over on an honest, hard-working homeowner. Deceptive neighbors who try schemes like this are playing with fire. Thanks to my thorough evidence and willingness to fight back in court, Mike's stunt completely backfired. He learned the hard way not to mess with my utilities, or my wallet. The next one is a petty revenge story. I'm fond of a particular pair of shoes. I'm conscious of Rule 5, so nothing unique or fancy, just a very popular, instantly recognizable brand and style. They've been around for Google's this and WTAF 101 years. I know what I'm getting, no hassle, no alarms, and no surprises, please. So I buy a pair from an equally well-known online marketplace. They turn up and they're the wrong size by half a size up. So if I buy a UK 5, I know a UK 5. 5 is going to be wrong for me, seeing as I've been wearing them for 25 years, and these are about as much use to me as a wicker sharp basket. I double-triple check the size listed is not what I received. I try them on indoors and my heel is lifting up in the shoe. Not okay. I message the seller about getting this corrected and receive messages to the effect of, "Yes, these shoes are very tight, so we usually send out a slightly larger size. It would be better for you to keep them for a discount. We can send you a 50% refund. This will be beneficial to you to save the hassle and cost of return shipping. This will be beneficial to me. Oh, all the hell's no, you absolute crap pillow." I'm not arguing with them. I contact the site's support and arrange for a completely free and postage fully paid return, at absolutely no cost to myself. They give me a full refund. I mentally add seller to a list of people I hope walk into a lamppost, and I forget all about it until they arrive back in the post. They've been labeled by the courier as refused at delivery, possibly not known at this address. I forget now. I double check. I have been fully refunded already. but the return address is different to the address listed on the seller's account. I contact support again and give them all the details, suggesting this may be a fraudulent seller who at the very least has admitted in writing they regularly ship items that are not as described. Support confirm I can keep the shoes and the refund, and they'll investigate the seller. I have no use for these shoes, so I drop them off at my favorite charity shop. I manage to get the right size from a different seller just fine, and I forget all about it again. Until months later, the next time I buy the same shoes again. After the trouble from before this time, I buy 2 pairs to avoid having to do this again for a while. Exactly the same thing happens. I get shoes half a size up from the ones I ordered. They send the same messages, though this time without the "we usually send a larger size one." They must have learned admitting to false advertising isn't a winner. Oh, it's you again. Okay, mofo. Back to support again, referencing the last complaint I made. Full refund. Again. Free of charge return shipping. Again. Both items refused delivery and sent back to me again. I contact support again. They confirm I can keep the refund and the shoes again. My local cat shelter charity shop gets donations of brand new shoes again. It's time for more shoes. Again. Local cats need me to do this. I'm never buying shoes any other way, ever again. I'm 99% sure I found them again. The next one is a malicious compliance story. I started working for someone who had courted me for 6 months, asking me to come work for them. They agreed to my salary request, a company car, and the whole package. I was thoroughly looking forward to the job since this was a former client, whom I knew quite well and considered a decent sort. Work started and all was good. I was learning their trade and craft and providing my input and expertise. Unbeknownst to me at the time, things were tight financially for them, really tight. Nearing the end of the month, I was called in and told I was not dedicated enough to the job. I do not take breaks at all. I am always early, constantly telling them I am happy to work overtime and weekends, but still, I was not dedicated enough. There was a lot of back and forth, me defending myself, and getting seriously upset because I work extremely hard. Then they hit me with, "We think we should call it quits." I did not understand. I went over the things I was learning, the stuff I had done. No, all that stuff was perfect. They were more than happy with the input. Anyway, let's get back to work. They dropped the entire debacle like a hot potato, and I was left speechless and in a bit of shock. Oh well, I brushed it off and continued, albeit more aware of what I was doing and how I was doing it, and making sure to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. The end of the second month was coming. All was looking rosy, work was going well, we seemed busy, I was constantly busy, with no real time to hang around and chat. Then boom, into another meeting, the same issue again. This time I was told I was too expensive and costing them X amount per month to have me there. I went a little overboard and defended my position, stating they sought me out, not the other way around. I had a decent job before, the same package, and although it was not ideal, it was paying the bills, and I would have stayed there for years otherwise. Now you hit me with this? Like, seriously. And then, I get hit with that same nonsense of "we think we should call it quits." The same as before, I called the meeting to an end swiftly after, when I started saying things like, "Well, fire me then." To be clear, there was nothing wrong with my work performance, they said as much yet again. Just the overall commitment was not there. Well, now that is the second time you have told me that you want to call it quits. In my head, I am thinking, do that to me again. Tell me you want to call it quits, just one more time. The third month, things were not looking as good as month 2. Business was a little quieter. The boss had had the flu and had been irritable for most of the month. I tried to stay out of their way on purpose, but made sure not to slack off and ensured I was constantly busy. All was good, I thought. Well, not so fast. The end of the month was coming. And would not you know it, I was called in again. Can I not catch a break here? Anyway, I played it totally cool and calm, asked where I was going wrong, what else I should be doing. No, just the overall commitment. Keep in mind, at this point, my work ethic had not changed. My actual work was top-notch, and there was really nothing to complain about. Although, I had been off sick for 2 days in the month, and something else happened that caused me to be off work, but totally legitimate and with the blessing of my boss. Well, those are now held over my head. Off too many days. I ended the meeting, went home after seeing a doctor for my ailment, and returned the following day. I called my boss for a meeting to clarify the main issue, as my boss still had not explained or told me what they meant by commitment, not fully there. My boss stated, "You do not come in to work on weekends or holidays. You could have knocked me over with aerogel. What in the actual world?" I explained to my boss that they stated at the beginning of my employment that we would not be working weekends and holidays. Even my contract says as much, and that if there is work to be done on weekends and holidays, there will be time off and payment for it. If. I also explained that they said they were totally okay with me being off ill, and for the other issue. No, we should call it quits. My boss left because my boss was upset. I needed my boss to advise on a particular part of a rather important, rather expensive step in the process of the job I was currently working on, but no, I was ghosted. I stuck around for 2 hours because I would like to finish this before I tell my boss I am complying with their request, but nothing. My boss is not answering calls or messages, so I left, off to home. Remember how I said earlier that the third time would be the last? Well, my boss called a while later. Acts as if there is nothing amiss. We got into it again over the phone, and I tell my boss I am taking them up on their offer. What offer? You know, the one where you said to call it quits. No, do not do anything rash. Think about it overnight, and we will talk in the morning. Yeah, right. Well, I thought it over, and I thought I would much rather not be treated like scum, and I will take my stuff and leave. You bit off more than you could chew, and now I am to blame? I got to work the next morning, asked my boss if they wanted to talk in private or in the general work area. No, we can talk in the general area. Okay, well, I have thought about it, and I think it best that I do take you up on your offer. Just pay me out to the end of the month, and we are good. If not, well, I have recourse. No, all good, I will pay you out. I took my stuff and left right away. I left my boss to deal with the rather important, rather expensive, and very time-sensitive job I was busy with. Guaranteed to cost a good few thousand to get an extension if the job is not lost altogether. The next one is an entitled people story. I'm a 24-year-old's old bar manager in a fairly new bar. Coming into my shift on a Friday afternoon, I was warned by another coworker about a guy who may need cutting off and was too drunk. He then proceeded to stumble to the bar, swaying, slurring his words, requesting some drinks off me. I explained that I wasn't comfortable serving him anymore and may need to leave. That's when he called Karen. The hair, the attitude, the entitlement, all in one person. She storms over to the bar, this 50-odd-year-old woman requesting the manager, to which unfortunately is me. She stood in my face, pointing. My son is not drunk. I told her that we were not comfortable serving her son anymore, as he was too drunk. Now in a pub, there is someone for every situation. Fire alarm goes off, you've got firefighters in, giving advice. Someone is having a seizure, they helped their friend through one so they know better. You've got water coming through the ceiling, they are a plumber. This Karen was a bar manager for 30 years. She thinks I shouldn't cut her son off. Demanding where our point system is. For a moment, I completely forget whether I'm in school or not point system. She responded with, he's not done drugs. Okay, good start, he's not broken a glass. Sometimes accidents happen, he not started a fight. Okay, so how people should behave in a pub, Brill. But he's still too pissed and we've got the right to refusal. Now in the UK, in order to get an alcohol license, you have to take an exam. In that exam, I had never heard of this point system before. I've heard of 5 licensing objectives, and cutting someone off before getting too drunk is following the objectives. Then started demanding a piece of paper to write a 3-page complaint on how she wasn't given a reason. Also emailed the brewery how I treated her son unfairly and that I was in the wrong. She then proceeded threatening me about Steve. I will tell Steve about this and he will never step foot in this pub again. Now this family must have been pure royalty. Celebrities basically, and I didn't get the memo because who the duck is Steve? Anyway, Steve still drinks with us and is absolutely lovely. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already.